the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
You're on with Gene and Chris, and we are joined by an empty chair that will soon be occupied by none other than producer Ron James. And we have a lot to talk about. Let's first acquaint some of you people who haven't heard all the stories and announcements we've made about the Paracast Plus, what's going on, and where things started. Actually, it started with the Paracast newsletter, where Chris decided to give us a couple of golden eggs. The first golden egg was the ebook version of Secrets of the Mysterious Valley. Now remember, if he's giving away these books free, he's not making money from them. And we're giving you a free newsletter. So if you sign up by going to theparacast.com, you get the ebook version of Secrets of the Mysterious Valley. So that's the first golden egg that Chris has given us. And then he said, you know what? Let's really do what we can to boost Paracast Plus. And let me tell you what Paracast Plus is. And let me tell you about the second golden egg that Chris has presented to us. And this is a really spectacular thing. Okay, Paracast Plus is the premium subscription service for the show. We give you the ad-free version. Of course, we have to qualify that because one or two people have asked, what do you mean by ad-free? It means that the 41 minutes of ads the network includes are not part of the show. But if we do discussions about show features or guest plugs or public appearances, that's part of the show content. Okay, so we explain that. You find out more about it at plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. And we charge $5 a month, $50 a year, $175 if you opt for 5 years, which is like getting 18 months free. You get the ad-free version of the Paracast. You get the After the Paracast podcast with all sorts of cool stuff that is more direct and more detailed than some of the stuff that we present in the body of the show. Okay? We're working on getting a chat room in there. And as you learn from our guest, Ron James, who will be with us in just a second after he sort of gets himself set up, and now that his chair is not empty and we can't be like Clint Eastwood and talk to an empty chair, he'll tell you about a few more things. But in the meantime, Chris says he wants to really boost the Paracast Plus. And he said, you know what? I'll give you a copy to distribute of the ebook version of Stalking the Trickster. Now, Stalking the Tricksters is like this trend-setting, paradigm-changing book that has totally altered the discussion of the paranormal, because we consider things now that we never thought of before. It's not just our UFO spaceships, our ghosts, spirits of the dead. It is there a trickster element involved? Like we had last week with our episode with Burnt State, where suddenly all my parts were missing from the recording and I had to redo most of them. Remember that, Chris?
Oh, I hate when that happens, Gene.
Well, it only happened, I think, that one time. You know, a couple of times I've had some glitches, but This is the first time this happened to an entire show.
Right, yeah. I don't know how you did it, but I guess you pulled it off.
Nobody's complained about me sounding more incoherent than usual.
Yeah.
Which is good. Yeah. But anyway, I really want to thank you for doing this, giving away Stalking the Tricksters. And the most important thing about it is that we really want to boost the Paracast Plus. Chris is basically saying, I'm willing to give away something that actually earns me money.
No. Basically, what we're doing is if you get a year of the Paracast Plus or the 5-year Paracast Plus, then I will have Gene go ahead and shoot you an e-version of Stalking the Tricksters. So there you go.
Yeah, that's it. Go to plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com, learn how to subscribe. And as soon as we have your subscription for a year or more, we'll get you the copy of the book. It'll be emailed to you. All right? Very simple. By the way, if you've already subscribed, you didn't get your book, email me. Once I verify your username in the forums, I'll get you out the book. We're not going to leave anybody out here. It's really going to happen. Now, the other element that's happening with the Paracast Plus is the fact that right now it's just audio content, message boards, a fledgling chat room. But we wanted to get some video content, and Chris is working on some things. But we also called in none other than Ron James, who's this fabulous documentary producer, producing all these great documentaries. And he's sitting now in his chair. It's no longer empty. So when I talk to him, I'm not like Clint Eastwood talking to an empty chair. He has a chair that's like a dark red leather. Is that what it is, Ron?
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, it's a ritzy chair. I'd like one.
But I'm turning off my video so that you can't see my esteemed profile anymore.
So if he does that, of course, if he points his finger at me in a rather way that we can't mention on traditional radio, then I don't see it.
Exactly. That gives me a little more latitude.
Okay. So I've talked to you about this before, and we'll get into it in other segments of the show. I said, what can we do to offer video content for Paracast Plus subscribers? And we obviously don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet because things aren't developed. And of course, we don't want to be like Microsoft where they pre-announce things that never come to be. We'd rather be like Apple where we only announce what we could produce and we don't prejudge or pre-announce things that aren't ready. So you have an idea, too, to suggest?
Well, Chris and I have worked together on a lot of films. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes content and special editions and never-before-seen elements that we're going to be able to share with the Paracast audience. And, some of those films have won some awards. So Dead Whisper was one of the greatest documentaries ever made that covered electronic voice phenomenon. And it actually set the stage for a lot of the shows you see on TV now where they're using that. And there's a lot of material around that. And then, of course, we won the 2012 EBE Awards. We won People's Choice and Best Feature Film for the Disclosure Dialogues. And I think even to this day, that is one of the most definitive collections of material for anybody who's really interested in the disclosure movement. So we've got a lot of material that nobody's ever seen. In fact, I have some very interesting interviews with Nick Pope, and I have some very interesting interviews with Dr. Edgar Mitchell, where I really tried to get to the bottom of how they feel about what they're doing. Edgar had an amazing experience as he was coming back that's not talked about a lot. And really delving into that. And Edgar, what happened to you up there? So we've got a lot of things that we can tickle our audience with that it hasn't been seen before, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And some of it is only going to be available to members of Paracast Plus.
So, Ron, when do you think you'll have the first video content ready for Paracast Plus?
We're working on that. We're interested in hearing what the audience has to say. If having significant exclusive video content would boost the appeal of Paracast Plus. So all the listeners out there, offer your input, because Paracast Plus TV is basically going to be something that's for you and for you to support and for you to enjoy. So we're talking, Chris, I, and you are all talking about when and how it's coming soon.
So it's very easy to contact us, by the way. You could write us, news@theparacast.com, news@theparacast.com, or go to our site, theparacast.com, or our forums at forum.theparacast.com. They all have contact us links. And if you click that link, or on your mobile device, you tap that link, you bring up a form where you could type an email message, and it goes right to me and Chris directly. Chris and I see every single message, unlike some shows where it goes through the third-rate flunky, who then decides whether or not the hosts or producers can see it. When you write to us, we see each and every email. We try to answer most of it. A lot of times I answer, Chris answers. So if you have a suggestion for the video content you'd like to see on the Paracast Plus, let us know, because this is something that is going to be built with your interactions with us. And, of course, working with Ron and Chris to produce these top-notch videos. These are the video guys. I do all the audio stuff here. But when it comes to video guys, I don't do that because I do not cast a reflection. You see, that's really the secret of my reason why I stay away from video. There are no comments from the peanut gallery. Plus.theparacast.com.
I used to tell people I didn't show up on film, but then video came along and I showed up on that.
Yeah.
We have Ron James with Gene and Chris. You're in
The Paracast.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and the Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It took hours before it returned, but I had already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Talk to a sales rep at iWeb.com. Use the promo code TechNightOwl for a special discount.
Hi, this is Steve Spillum for Midas Resources. In 1971, President Nixon took the United States off the gold standard and put us into a fiat currency. This allowed Congress and the Federal Reserve to create trillions of dollars out of thin air. The national debt has risen to incredible heights, and your hard-earned dollars by a small fraction of what they once did. The average life expectancy for a fiat currency is 27 years. The dollar is failing and on borrowed time. When currencies fall, people turn to gold and silver because gold and silver have been real money for more than 5,000 years. It is our mission at Midas Resources to help you preserve your capital. Don't let your personal savings shrink to nothing. For important free information on how you can protect your personal wealth, contact me, Steve Spillum, at 1-800-686-2237, extension 308. Call today while we are still accepting dollars for gold and silver. 1-800-686-2237, extension 308. Make a change in your financial security today. That's 1-800-686-2237, extension 308.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been overcharged for a repair? Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Worried about identity theft? How many times have you been in those unique situations where you just wanted to call an attorney to find out if you're right or wrong, or what your legal rights are? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what do you think about first? That's right. Who do you call, and how much will it cost? Our friends at Legal Shield have found a solution. With a nationwide network of 6,900 attorneys who average over 19 years of experience, Legal Shield's law firms take over 40,000 calls per week helping their members. For less than $20 per month, you can have access to Legal Shield on everything from the trivial to the traumatic. Let Legal Shield stand up for your rights at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com. Or call 855-340-SAVE, 855-340-7283.
Results will vary from case to case.
On Facebook, on the news, and in conversations with friends, we're bombarded every day with advice on how to be healthier, from gluten-free and non-GMO diets to how much exercise and sleep the body needs. But how much have you heard about alkalizing the body? AlkaVision Plasma pH drops are a holistic and natural way to get your body's pH levels back in balance. Just a few drops in water will help your body rid itself of harmful waste. And even the healthiest of diets can be complemented with your daily use of AlkaVision Plasma pH drops. Who isn't looking for more vibrance, vigor, and energy? Now buy 2 bottles of AlkaVision Plasma pH drops and get $10 off your order. Visit alkavision.com or call 800-518-7615. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops are packed with a powerful combination of the most alkaline minerals and compounds. Open the door to greater health, vitality, and zest for life. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health. Call 800-518-7615 or head to alkavision.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
With Gene and with Chris and with our good friend Ron James, you're in the Paracast, and we've got a lot of things to talk about. And the first thing we'll do here is the fact that, we work, and we're working more and more closely with Ron. Chris has known him for years, and they've done projects together. I've, only met him through the show. But of course, we all have different opinions about things, and he tells me that he has a few bones to pick with the Paracast, a few things that maybe he doesn't agree with us about. Now, that's fine. We want to have a fair discussion, just as we do in the forums at forum.theparacast.com. So, Ron, if you want to show emphasis, take your glasses off for a second and say, I put it to you. I have reading glasses.
I put it to you. I've been thinking about this diatribe for some time. Ever since you guys came on and we're talking about Steve Bassett and his whole disclosure work, it was hard to listen to because you guys are like, who is Steve Bassett and all this stuff? And I know that you guys understand and that you guys disagree with the idea that the work that Steve's doing is going to result in President Obama being flanked by two aliens announcing that they've been lying to us for 50 years. And, I probably agree with you. I think disclosure, if it happens, is coming in a different way. But what we shouldn't be ignoring as people who care about the topic is the work that he's doing and the purpose that it serves. At the same time you guys were, who is Steve Bassett? He's doing another stupid petition, blah, 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 blah. You were ignoring the fact that we, at our own expense, produced 650 10-disc copies of the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, the entire thing, which, Chris, you were a participant in and one of the producers of. Right. And so, you were there and you were a part of it, and you know how important it was. We made 650 copies of these in my living room, and we mailed them to each member of Congress. And this is what Steve is calling the Congressional Hearing Initiative. And then he put the petition in front of the White House. If 100,000 people sign that petition, the White House has to respond. And now, whether or not they respond in a way that we can say, look, we won, that is the only way that we've found to get the White House to put something on the record. And so when you guys were like, oh, who's Steve Bassett? Disclosure is a pipe dream, blah, 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 blah. And then you kind of made fun of the petition instead of taking the power of the Paracast audience. If every member of the Paracast audience went to PRG right now and just took 5 minutes to sign this petition asking the White House to encourage congressional hearings into the ET issue, then that petition, and we still have time because February 12th is the end, that petition would work. And the White House would have to respond. And it would be the second official response from the body politic about the ET issue. Now, I don't believe everything he says. We need guys like Steve doing this work, and we should be supporting it because somebody has to do it. It's a voice that has to be out there. There has to be somebody out there pushing the political body as much as they can. I've seen this guy work. I spent 3 weeks at my house while we did this big congressional hearing initiative. And that guy, he made the discs himself. He insisted on putting them in the boxes himself. I never saw him do anything besides eat that didn't have something to do with the work that he's involved in. So whether you believe in him, you like him, you hate him, whatever, this guy is tireless. He's dedicated. And I've never seen anybody with such laser focus. But it's not really about Steve. It's about the work. It's about getting the government to do something. And even if the overt efforts of demanding disclosure only result in a slow drip of information coming out the back door, it's still doing its job. So there's a petition out there. Let's quit dogging the guy for what he's doing. Let's think about how important this petition is, and let's get the other 80,000 signatures we need on it. And come on, what are we asking you guys for? 5 minutes of your time. Anybody that's working as hard as Steve is for this type of result really needs everybody's support and not a bunch of people detracting him personally and making fun of his work. He's doing more for this genre than pretty much anybody else. There's a lot of infighting going on in ufology. There's a lot of people hoaxing stuff. It's just a mess. But one guy is doing one thing that in the course of history will be remembered when some of these other people are just going to go by the wayside.
Okay. Certainly, we know it would be nice if a petition could actually have a result. But here's the thing. There was a previous petition, and it got a response from the third-level White House flunky saying, of course, the standard line from the government, we have no evidence that we're being visited by spaceships or that the UFOs represent – let me continue – or that UFOs represent a threat to national security. Now, would 100,000 signatures do better? Well, if it works, fine. I'm not objecting to people signing a petition like this. The key here is, do we even know what the government actually has about UFOs? Is there any evidence they have final ironclad proof that UFOs are spaceships? But the second thing that bothers me about Stephen Bassett is not his dedication, because I've never seen any indication that he does not believe in what he's doing. I think the thing that bothers me here is that he's kind of prejudging the result. And the other thing that bothers me is when he has his events, although he may have some really great speakers, sometimes he has people there who are not really well vetted. And in the past on the Paracast, when we've asked him this, he basically says it doesn't matter. Well, yes, it does matter, because the media is not going to seize on serious people a Stanton Friedman or somebody else who presents real evidence that something is going on that we do not understand. They're going to look at the wacky people who say the wacky things. Or when Paul Hellyer says something pretty crazy, they're going to look at this old man saying a crazy thing, and that makes it worse. And maybe the biggest criticism of Bassett is not his intentions or not the hope that a petition will do well. It is he has to be a little more circumspect in who he's giving a platform to.
Yeah, I understand that too. But, let's talk about the results of the petition for a minute. When his last petition drive was successful, the White House, even though, like you said, it was some third-level flunky from the science department, it's the first time ever in history that the White House has gone on the record with a response to the ET issue. And the fact of the matter is that their response over time, now it's an official response. It's in the official record. And there's enough evidence floating out there to prove that, they probably weren't telling the truth. And if you don't have an official response, then you can't call somebody on an official lie. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get these responses into the record because we all know, I think that the government knows a lot more than they're telling. I don't know what they know, but, let's face it. Without the official response, there's no way to officially say, okay, we have this evidence to the contrary against your official response, because they could keep dancing around the subject. This new thing is we want the White House to officially endorse congressional hearings into the ET issue, just like the citizen hearing and just like they held 50 years ago. And so the White House, if the petition is successful, is going to have to go on the record with their response to why they would support or not support congressional hearings into the issue. This is not about the things that it seems to be about on the surface. This is about establishing a piece of history with a piece of official interaction. That is going to serve the ufologists of the future, just like some of the old paperwork is serving the ufologists of today. So there's a lot of really important reasons that this work is very crucial, and it's not always what it appears to be on the surface.
Obviously, we're talking about the mechanics here. And the one question I would have is whether the White House is even the place to go, because even if you have them on record saying nothing more than the government has said before, the real action comes from Congress, and Congress is not listening to President Obama. We'll talk more about this in a moment. We have Ron James with Gene and Chris. You're in
The Paracast.
Free from the shackles of corporate America, we're the place for independent thinkers. GCN.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
What good is a Big Berkey water filter?
We get that question a lot here at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And in a word, the answer is protection. Protection from water main breaks, E. coli contamination, environmental chemical spills, pesticide runoff, chlorine taste and smell, and all forms of fluoride. Plus, Big Berkey water filters are the original gravity water filter system and most trusted on the market for a reason. Tested by multiple independent NSF EPA certified labs, they are the gold standard in water purification. At only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. That means big savings. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get a Big Berkey today at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit our website or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
The human body is extraordinary. Despite all the stresses we inflict upon it, it still works hard to stay in balance. Thousands upon thousands of people rely upon Heart and Body Extract to help their body stay balanced. This excellent 100% natural herbal formula helps maintain healthy blood pressure levels, cleans arteries, promotes good circulation, balances cholesterol, and more. HB Extract, paired with healthy lifestyle choices like good nutrition and exercise, can give you a life free of pain, sickness, and fear. Recapture your youthful vitality and experience your body healing itself with the aid of HB Extract. It's extremely effective and it starts working in just days. Visit hbextract.com to learn more and to read scores of testimonials from satisfied customers. And we've never increased our price in over 10 years. That makes Heart and Body Extract as great a value now as it was the first day we sold it. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Call 866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
This is Leslie Kane, and I'm with the Coalition for Freedom of Information, and you are listening to the Paracast.
So remember, folks, I won't belabor the point. If you go to plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com, you'll learn about all the great things we're planning, about the ad-free version of the Paracast, about After the Paracast podcast, about the stuff that Ron James and Chris O'Brien are doing in terms of adding exclusive video content, plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. So we're talking here about the efforts of Steve Bassett to get the government on the record about UFOs, other than what they've said so far. But if you want congressional hearings, would it not be better to look at congressmen, women, people in the Senate, people in the House, who may be somewhat sympathetic to the cause, and get them, convince them to push for congressional hearings? Because once again, they're not listening to the president, not this Congress.
Yeah, well, see, Gene, again, this is kind of why I have a bone to pick with you guys, because at the same time you're saying that, you're on the Paracast talking about how this work is no good. But don't you understand that the Congressional Hearing Initiative is exactly that? At the same time we're petitioning the White House, we hand-delivered the entire DVD record of the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure to the office of every single member of Congress. 650 sets hand-delivered. So that's the Congressional Hearing Initiative. And what that is exactly what you said. We're calling attention to the members of Congress. So after the DVD sets were delivered to the offices, Steve took off to Washington, took up residence a few blocks from Capitol Hill, hired a publicist, and every day he is knocking on the doors of Congress people, he is knocking on the doors of media, and he is knocking on the doors of influential people in Washington, other lobbyists, who will be able to get these guys to listen. And there are sympathetic ears in Congress, whether they'll say so on the record or not. And there are potentials for there to be some serious light shed on the subject. So sure, there's this petition to the White House. It's only a part of the overall thing. The first part of it was do the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, get it out there. And the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure is available to anybody who wants to see it. It was a huge event. It cost a lot of money, and it went off perfectly. Then the second part is the Congressional Hearing Initiative, which is happening right now. And that's what I want Paracast listeners to know is, right now, people are knocking on the doors of Congress people. The citizen hearing's been delivered to everybody. And the idea that maybe we can get a little momentum to get at least people talking about it, get the media on it, that's what it's all about. The idea that the president's going to disclose or that Congress is going to all of a sudden wake up and say, oh, forget about ISIS, let's have hearings on UFOs. Okay, maybe a long shot. I'll agree with the people that think that. However, it's making it part of the discussion against a media and against a machine that does not want to hear it. I mean, the media doesn't want to touch this stuff. The more close to the truth it gets, the harder it is. They'll report a story about something that can easily be disproven or fabricated. But when it comes time to, hey, 40 witnesses appeared in front of ex-Congress people, and now we want Congress to do the same, and here's the evidence, and here's why it should happen. You're not going to see that on Fox News. So it's an uphill battle, but somebody's fighting it, and they deserve your support. They deserve you to go sign the petition, take a look at what they're doing, because while the rest of the UFO field is infighting and doing all the things that they're doing to not get anything done, this is one guy and one effort and one movement that is getting things done, even if it's only the ear of one congressperson or a small article in one newspaper. It's happening.
Well, just a couple of issues here to consider. Maybe the approach that Leslie Kean is taking, which is don't say it's ET, say we have strange things in the sky, these incredible events, the experiences people have had, and we need an investigation to find out what's causing it. But when you say ET, it prejudges the situation. I'll give you an example of that. So we had this brouhaha over the temporary release of Project Blue Book information at John Greenwald's Black Vault site. It's no longer there. And I don't want to get into that because I've belabored the point already and after the Paracast. All right. So the first thing that happens is the media says people interested in UFOs are extraterrestrial believers, which prejudges the conclusion. And I think the second concern I have is not just that Steve Bassett doesn't vet his people who go on to these presentations. It is don't prejudge the solution, because you say ET, it's sensational. And people are going to look at that and say, wow, gosh, golly, gee whiz, great aliens are coming down. It's Independence Day in reality. Whatever it is, they're going to laugh about it. But if you say strange things are happening and look at all the evidence in these strange craft, we can't identify these things, and people are having really horrific experiences sometimes, don't prejudge the answer, because that may work to the detriment of getting congressional people interested. One issue, and then we'll have your answer. The second question, of course, is that will this set of congressional hearings, if they were held, be any different from the ones in the late 60s that brought us the Condon Report, which whitewashed the whole thing? What makes you think it's going to be different now? Ron?
I think that the strategy this time is media attention, because for one thing, we have the citizen hearing that's already done. It's on the record. Solid testimony from people. And yeah, sure, Paul Hellyer got on at the last minute and sort of went into left field. But there was time during his actual testimony, no matter what you want to say about Hellyer, he was the Canadian Minister of Defense. He was privileged to certain information, and he does seem to convey that he was told things. So rather he took that spiritually within his own journey to kind of a far out esoteric place or not, he still is who he is with what he is. So is Edgar Mitchell. So is these other people that have a lot of credibility and a lot to say. And now I know that there's some people that testified that are not on you guys' favorite list. But again, yeah, it's our job as journalists to process and deliver information. I feel like when we start to decide what information we're going to share, we're making decisions for our listeners and for our readers and for our viewers that maybe we shouldn't be making. So when we put this stuff out, people can make up their own minds. And the whole thing about ET, I drive a Jeep. And I don't like the gas mileage, but it's what I have, and I drive it every day. We have Steve in Washington. We may not agree with everything he's doing, but he's doing it, and we should support it, because overall, it has more potential of creating something than it doesn't. And Leslie Kean is doing, she's playing it safe, and she's making a lot of allies in more official circles than I think Steve has been successful in doing. And I'm not going to fault either person's approach. I think that we need these people doing exactly what they're doing, and we need more of them, and we need more people rallying behind them with something as simple as signing a signature or sending out an encouraging email or telling their friends. So with the state of ufology today, editorializing, pointing fingers at each other, infighting, which is what I see a lot happening. Look what's coming up at Open Minds with Bob Lazar and Stan Friedman's stand on it. And there's a lot of controversy going on. And that's exactly what detractors and people who are trying to fill this genre with misinformation and keep us off the scent want. So, we've got somebody who's laser focused doing this thing, and he might not be doing it perfect. And we can all say, oh, I could do it better, or I would do it differently. But it's being done, and I think that it just deserves a little more support and a little less judgment.
I like to hope that he'd listen to the criticisms a bit more. But let's leave that alone. If you want to learn more about the petition, where do we go again, Ron?
Oh, you can go to prg.org. And again, it just takes a minute to sign the petition. There's nothing wrong with doing it. You're not supporting anything except helping to get along the way. And the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure is available widely on the internet if you want to watch it and catch up with it. So, there's a lot of stuff out there. And again, it's not about Steve Bassett. It's about the overall cause that he's trying to do. And so whether you like him or not, you got to respect his work and you got to respect what he's envisioning. Even if you think disclosure is a pipe dream like Chris does, there's nothing wrong with signing a petition.
To jump to my defense here.
We only have 30 seconds to jump to it, but why don't we start? As a matter of fact, why don't we just postpone that to the next segment so everybody could listen and get the full extent of Chris's response without interruptions, without announcements about the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com. None of that stuff. Okay. Let's just get an unfettered Chris for the next segment and get his response to that. We have Ron James, documentary producer, with us with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Not just an alternative to the mainstream media. We're the premier independent talk radio network. We are GCN.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
If the IRS has garnished your paycheck or seized money from your bank account, you need to get professional tax help now. Fast action is required to put a halt to these aggressive IRS collection tactics. You can count on the knowledgeable team of tax professionals at Wall & Associates. With over 30 years of experience, Wall & Associates has settled the tax problems of thousands of taxpayers for a small fraction of what they owed. For a free face-to-face consultation, call 1-800-425-4610 to put a wall between you and the IRS. 1-800-425-4610 or look for us on the web at wallandassociates.net. We solve tax problems. If you hire Wall & Associates today, you'll never have to talk to the IRS again. To stop the levies and seizures today, take action now. Call Wall & Associates at 1-800-425-4610. Wall & Associates, 1-800-425-4610. Based on actual cases, results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit The Berkey Guy at goberkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. goberkey.com, home of The Berkey Guy.
Hi, my name is DeRay, suffering from migraines, having Botox injections in my head and neck to alleviate pain, costing $1,500 out of my pocket. I discovered Dr. Ortman and Gentle Touch chiropractic adjustment called Nuka. I'm migraine-free since my first adjustment. Thanks for giving me my life back, Dr. Ortman. I wish they prescribed you instead of Botox.
Thanks, DeRay. Putting the bones back in place is only half of the solution. We design a nutritional supplement program the body can handle, actually absorb, providing nutrients, targeting the problem area. Between Nuka and nutrition, we will have you on the road to a faster and more permanent recovery. Look us up on the web at drortman.com or call 952-303-9124. Let us help you feel better faster. Wellspring Spinal Care at 952-303-9124. Again, that's 952-303-9124. Or on the web at drortman.com.
Hi, this is Bryce Abel. I'm the producer of Dark Skies, the co-author of AD After Disclosure, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So Ron James has explained why he thinks we should support the work of Stephen Bassett in his disclosure efforts in petitioning the President of the United States to reveal the information they have on UFOs, and he's assuming it's about ET. Chris, what's your response?
Well, Ron and I had a conversation the week after I aired some of my, fairly consistent and I think a lot of people know my feelings about the whole concept of disclosure. And I don't want to bore everybody with yet another, version of that. I think everybody kind of knows that. I like Stephen. I've known him for 10 years now. I think he's a dedicated guy. I have some questions about his background. He seems to almost appear out of nowhere in the mid-90s. I've never really been able to suss out his background. I don't have any problems with the amount of dedication and focus that he's applying to this whole question. I applaud that effort. I think there is some credence, obviously, in what Ron's saying. We do need to keep the pressure on, public officials to at least address this issue and address the subject, acknowledge it as being an important national security issue, which it doesn't appear on their radar that way. And I think Stephen is doing a good job in that regard. I do have some reservations about as we know, all it takes is one bad apple in a crate of apples to ruin the bunch. And you really do have to, and I really take Gene's comments to heart on this. You really have to be careful not to have somebody quoting Jim Sparks' at least in my mind, fabricated dialogue from ETs to humanity. It just takes one thing like that to just totally blow a lot of hard work out of the water. And I think, this whole idea of, well, every point of view needs to be considered and all this. I disagree with that. I think we have to be very conservative in how we language this issue, how we approach officials about this issue. I think it has to be nuanced to the degree that people in those positions of power and those positions of authority are going to feel comfortable enough to even address the issues. So I think there should be a little bit more work done on languaging, terminology, these types of things, as Gene, I think, again, insightfully pointed out. I urge everybody to sign the petition. When we had our conversation a couple of weeks back, Ron, next time we got on the air and also online at the forum, I did urge everybody, to help out. It doesn't take much time, and only good can come out of it. Let's put it that way. There's no downside to it. So again, I do urge everybody to go to prg.org and sign the petition. Let's go ahead and get those signatures. It'd be interesting to see what kind of response we'll get. I'm not going to hold my breath, but it would be interesting to see. And I do applaud again Stephen's efforts to bring this issue to the forefront in DC. Having said that, I really do hope that people aren't going to be too disappointed when, the government doesn't come forward and disclose what we think they know. I think disclosure is in the private sector. I don't think it's something that you can legislate, get your public officials to pony up information. I don't think they have it anymore. I really don't. And we've talked about this many times on the show. And but again, only good can come out of it. So, do go to prg.org, everybody, and sign that petition. All right.
I have one other comment to make here about that. And that is here, considering the situation, how it is in Congress, and the fact that Ron says that all the members of Congress and the Senate have a copy of that citizens' hearing on disclosure. Contact your representative. Now, we kind of think nowadays that your representatives are mostly basically bought and paid for by millionaires, by the Koch brothers, billionaires. But if enough constituents say, hey, look into this, they're going to consider that, because in the last election, some of those races were real close. And a few thousand people, one way or the other, or a few more people turned out who didn't vote, the results would be totally different. So that's the real power you have there, is not 100,000 signatures, but even 1,000 or two going to your local representative and saying, this needs to be investigated. Whether you believe in ET, no matter what you believe, something weird's happening, and we need an investigation. And that's where you go. You go to the people who have the power, like a John Boehner or a Mitch McConnell. These are the people who have the power, or even a Nancy Pelosi or a Harry Reid. People who have power in Congress, go to them and get them on board. If you get them on board, you win, even if the president doesn't even pay attention.
Yeah, and part of the Congressional Hearing Initiative was what we called the tweet storm. And the object was to tweet your congressperson. At the beginning of the initiative, we had 4,000 tweets an hour raining on Washington. So what you just said, Gene, is exactly right. And there's also a mechanism on the website to do that. And just contacting, faxing, writing, emailing your representatives, it's a huge part of it. And so all of the people that are interested in this topic, whether they support this particular avenue of work, it doesn't cost anybody any money. It costs 5 minutes of your time. And it's just something that you should do if you care about the ET issue, or the the whole mystery of what's really going on, whether it's ETs, interdimensional, unknown beings living here on the planet. Who knows what it is? Maybe it's all three. But if you're involved in the mystery, be involved with the potential solutions and the potential advancements.
Even if your senator happens to be a woman who castrates hogs on the side, and she wants to make a difference, and she's been given... Yeah. And she's been given this platform amongst conservatives. Go to that person. I mean, maybe not go to a Sarah Palin, because I think even the conservatives have given up on her. Go to somebody they think is credible now. Go to a Rand Paul. Go to a Ted Cruz. Whatever you think about their politics, if they represent you and you want them to be interested, go to them directly and let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to bring out, because, frankly, I'm not at all certain what they know. And as Chris says, maybe all the secret information is in the hands of private industry. Maybe the Koch brothers know. These billionaires, maybe the Walton family who owns Walmart knows. Maybe the private industrialists who handle military hardware know. Reaching them would be impossible.
There's a very interesting conversation that I recently had about that when the SpaceX rocket failed and when the Virgin ship crashed. And that is, if there is this top secret technology, if anti-gravity is really in the hands of mysterious shadow forces of industry or government, then why do we have these guys that are of high rank and stature in the world that you just talked about? If Elon Musk who he is, and he's connected with all the different industries that he's connected with, then why are people crashing rockets? And if Branson is who he is, he's connected with everybody. He's the guy that could sit down and have these conversations with government officials and industrialists inside Lockheed and Boeing. So he's a guy who theoretically would know if there was this kind of top secret breakaway technology. So why is he crashing rocket ships? So, it's a really interesting question, because if there truly is this advanced technology, then why are we still killing people playing with technology that we know is obsolete? If it's the true captains of industry that now are the managers of this information, then when the captains of industry get together, they should be talking about, hey, if we're going to keep playing with rockets, let's make sure nobody gets killed. So it's an interesting question there.
Well, it also raises a question about the claim that maybe we are reverse engineering alleged alien technology. And it raises a double-edged sword there, which is, number one, even if we have the technology, they had the crash at Roswell or something, some other place. Even if those cases are genuine, they have the crashed spaceships or craft from somewhere. The question would be, can we really reverse engineer anything but just the basic parts of their technology? Because if they're, hundreds or thousands of years ahead of us, they can travel from star system to star system, interdimensionally, wormholes, whatever. If they can do all that, how the heck are we going to be able to reverse engineer that sort of technology, that level? It's like someone in the 1500s looking at an iPhone, or even worse.
Or a nuclear submarine. Yeah, it's exactly true.
We have Ron James joining us. He's a documentary producer, and we're going to get into some of the projects he and Chris have done. But right now we're talking about disclosure and what there is to disclose and who knows it. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
We are the premier independent talk radio network, the Genesis Communications Network, GCN. We love that you're passionate about GCN. And whether you're a listener, a business owner, or a radio industry professional, we've redesigned the new GCN newsletter to keep you in the know. Get updates on your favorite GCN shows and hosts. Go to GCNlive.com and click on the banner in the upper left corner. Just for signing up, you're automatically entered for monthly giveaways. Start receiving your newsletter today. The future of talk radio. GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Hey, guess what? They've got some great deals for Valentine's Day at Guns80.com. They're calling it the Sweetheart Special. Guns80.com has lowered the price way down to $400 up until Valentine's Day. Order your Ghost AR-15 now. Tell your sweetheart that this is the right gift at the right time. Buy one for yourself. Buy one for your sweetheart, too. Your sweetheart will thank you for being so tuned into his or her needs. Get a brand new Ghost AR-15 right now for $400. Heck, buy two. His and hers. Go to Guns80.com or call and ask for the sweetheart deal. Love is in the air at Guns80.com. Call now, 844-2GUNS80. That's 844-248-6780. It's a sweetheart of a deal. Actually, it's a steal at $400. So call Guns80.com at 844-2GUNS80. But hurry, supplies are limited. Call 844-2GUNS80 or get your Ghost AR-15 today at Guns80.com on the web.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
That was good.
Especially since you caught me off guard.
Well, that's our intention. We have to show if you're quick here, Snap to it, my friend.
Yeah, as far as the whole subject of breakaway civilizations and, if we have that level of technology, why don't we use it? or why don't we use it publicly? It might be, being used clandestinely. But if you have an ace in the hole and you got a pair of kings and you're looking at somebody across the table with a pair of jacks, you've already got the hand beat. So, why whip it out if you don't need it?
Well, because people are dying playing with these primitive toys.
Well, I think there's other circumstantial mitigating circumstances that would alleviate the need to whip something like that out.
Yeah.
We don't know what the military's space program is about. The vast majority of payloads that went up into space in the shuttle were classified military experiments, satellites, monitoring technology, and what have you. So, I mean, we really don't know what's circling around up there, and we don't have a sense of any sort of exotic, state of the art beyond what is publicly acknowledged. So, if you don't need it and you don't want to let people know you have it, it stands to reason that you could probably keep certain things under wraps until you really needed to whip them out. And that's always been the argument that made the most sense to me. But again, it's ultimately it's up to them. If they want to land on the White House lawn or show up in the basement of the White House or something, they'll do that. And because they haven't done it to our knowledge, if they haven't decided to disclose, then, I think that the others, if you will, the watchers, however you want to call them, I think they're in the driver's seat when it comes to this whole topic. And I think that's why the government's just doesn't even consider it to be an issue. It's just a non-issue. So
I think there's a lot to be said for the idea that if there is some galactic federation and if there is somebody kind of watching our progress, that the idea that we have to evolve to a certain point before we're really going to be worthy of becoming part of that galactic family, and we have to survive the tendency to self-destruct first. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, that's true. Well, I was just agreeing. I think you're right, and it's it's going to get a lot more interesting before it gets any more dull. Let's put it that way.
I always say we can have a whole bunch of people sitting here in LA at their yoga classes and their meditation retreats talking about how much humanity's evolving. But while we still have ISIS and we still have little kids in Africa having to kill their parents as a rite of passage, we're not evolving. There's pockets of us that may consider ourselves evolved. But as a civilization and as a planetary community, it has to be
very
planet-wide. And so, if I was ET and I'm looking down at this, I'd be like, why should we reveal ourselves? These people totally don't have it together. And it's, they're going to have to get to a certain point collectively and unanimously before we can really take them to the next level.
No. Yeah, good point. We do live in a very, you got to look at the lowest common denominator. And, the first world is rapidly becoming, a plutocracy, and the trickle down economics is warm and salty for most people around the world. So, we do have a long way to go. That's for sure. No question.
One thing I just thought as a quick aside, when we talk about like petitioning our congresspeople and contacting our representatives, and a lot of people think, that just doesn't get us anywhere. But guys, let's look at what just happened to net neutrality. The big corporations wanted to be able to buy favoritism across the internet and across the broadband pipelines, and enough people spoke up and said, no way. And now the FCC is putting out new rules that, no, you cannot put favoritism on the internet. You cannot throttle independent content. The people and the freedom of speech and the freedom of our ability, especially me with an online TV network that probably would have got squashed had this been successful, we won. And so, sometimes there's a little gem out there that says our system works and our voices are heard. So 3 cheers for net neutrality and the victory.
Yeah, that's an important issue. Yeah.
Let me tell our listeners, by the way, we have a second radio show called Tech Night Owl Live. And if you listen to this weekend's edition of the Tech Night Owl Live, we'll talk about net neutrality with the columnist from USA Today, Rob Pegoraro. And he used to work, by the way, for the Washington Post. So this guy is really well connected. And we'll explain what net neutrality really is. And yes, someone like a Ron James, who's a small video producer, if you had fast lanes, if the rich companies like Apple and Netflix and Microsoft and Google could buy internet access to the exclusion of anyone else, then people like Ron can't present their exclusive content.
Well,
which leads the way to censorship. And so it's an amazing thing that this went through and that the people's voice was heard.
Yay!
So, Chris, I was thinking about when you and I were at the citizen hearing on disclosure, and we've never really talked about it, but when during the closing remarks, and we brought up Paul Hellyer, I was sitting at the back of the room, and I think you were manning one of the cameras. And when he just started going and going and going and talking that nonsense, I just wanted to reach out with a giant sheep hook and just pull him off the witness stand.
When you say that, I start to think of the 1930s and the vaudeville shows, and I wasn't there during those years, but you've seen them on TV and the movies, where an act was failing, the hook comes out and pulls them off the stage. Or maybe the gong from the Gong Show.
My mouth was agape, and I was just like, oh my gosh, is he really saying this stuff? And why is he rambling on and on and on? He's ruining the whole thing. What was going through your mind at that moment, Chris?
If I hadn't been working and had to have a professional decorum, I would have done the fake sneeze on my hand with the BS word kind of. You want me to give it a shot, Gene?
I mean, sometimes we have a little bit of ability to influence the interaction. I remember Richard Dolan was running kind of late on his delivery, and I started throwing paper airplanes at him. But he doesn't talk to me anymore. I wonder why.
Well, all I had to do was hear the name Jim Sparks, who is, for some of our new listeners, go back to the early years of the Paracast and listen to this segment with Jim Sparks. He's one of those guys, where the story gets bigger and grander as the years go by, and the umpteenth book comes out about his case. To sum up the entire proceedings by quoting bad, it sounded like bad, Hollywood fiction in terms of aliens telling us that we have to, take care of the environment, and it was so cliche, and I was so just taken aback that he was allowed to do that. To me, it just totally took all the gravitas and just blew it out of the room, and I was not happy about it.
It was very
5 days, and then to have it all summed up by that was very, very bad choice on the organizers' part to have that.
I truthfully think that he just took everybody by surprise. I think if he would have gone up to any of us and said, oh, by the way, I'm going to read from this book when I do my closing statements, somebody would have put the quash on it. But we just didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And, just for the record, the citizen hearing on disclosure was the event in Washington, D.C. held in late April and early May of 2012. And Chris was part of my crew, and we handled all of the production of this event and a good chunk of the post-production. And so, just so that the record is straight out there, because there's a lot of people actually trying to take credit for this.
Well, of course, I was in touch with Chris at the time, and we did an episode on the citizens hearing on disclosure. And he was one of the people who did an amazing amount of work to get that all down. With Gene and Chris and Ron James, you're in
the Paracast.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Friends, this is Alex Jones for MidasResources.com. For more than 15 years, I have exclusively used Midas Resources for all my precious metal needs. Whether it's bullion or collectibles you're looking for, Midas Resources is simply the best. I own my gold as a hedge against inflation. This Federal Reserve fiat currency could go the way of the Deutschmark and the Weimar Republic anytime. In these historically dangerous times, it makes sense to physically hold gold and silver. Midas already has some of the best deals in the industry. But if you give them a call and mention the radio special, they will give you a list of the day's super specials. Midas brokers are standing by to answer all your questions at 800-686-2237. They also have a lot of informative free literature explaining the opportunities and risk of holding precious metals. They are ready to answer your questions at 800-686-2237. Again, that's 800-686-2237.
The Genesis Communications Network is one of America's premier broadcasters of captivating talk radio. We thank you for listening. Now, just imagine, there are thousands of people who are just as passionate about radio as you are. But what you may not realize is how easy and affordable it is to advertise with us. Radio commercials for your business could be heard on hundreds of radio stations across the U.S. every day. We can help you by creating an effective radio advertising campaign for your company. From script writing to producing your commercial, just like the one you're listening to right now. No other network provides the level of customer service we do. When it comes to radio advertising, we are your one-stop shop. And no matter how big or small your business is, we can help. Email us at advertise@gcnlive.com, and an experienced advertising executive will help you take the first step towards driving more customers to your business or website. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
On Facebook, on the news, and in conversations with friends, we're bombarded every day with advice on how to be healthier, from gluten-free and non-GMO diets to how much exercise and sleep the body needs. But how much have you heard about alkalizing the body? AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops are a holistic and natural way to get your body's pH levels back in balance. Just a few drops in water will help your body rid itself of harmful waste. And even the healthiest of diets can be complemented with your daily use of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops. Who isn't looking for more vibrance, vigor, and energy? Now buy 2 bottles of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops and get $10 off your order. Visit alkavision.com or call 800-518-7615. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops are packed with a powerful combination of the most alkaline minerals and compounds. Open the door to greater health, vitality, and zest for life. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health. Call 800-518-7615 or head to alkavision.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Okay, so maybe we're stepping into it right now. We have Ron James, producer, Chris O'Brien, co-host Gene Steinberg, something or other. Now, you're about to say something about the fact you and Chris and your crew did all this work to record the happenings, the proceedings at the citizens' hearing on disclosure. But...
Well, there seems to be a little bit of confusion in the open marketplace about who actually did the work. And so I just wanted to clear it up. The Citizen Hearing on Disclosure video material was produced exclusively by me and Evolve Media Group, my company, and my crew. And we did a good chunk of the post-production as well. And so when I hear people out there saying that they're the producers that did the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, when I know for a fact that, you know, they weren't even there participating in the creation of the video that's being distributed, it's a little disheartening. So I don't want to get too far into it, but the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure was produced by Ron James with Chris O'Brien and a few other people that were within my organization. And so we're talking about the video of the event. The event itself was produced by Steve Bassett and Ruben Langdon. So I just want to make sure that people understand that when they hear people taking credit for producing the videos that are in the marketplace and producing all the other material, that if they're not mentioning us, they're not telling the truth.
Speaking of producing videos, you tell me here in your notes that you're also working on something with regard to Travis Walton. What's that project about?
Yeah, Jen Stein, who Chris and I worked with to win the 2012 EBE Awards, has been working on Travis, the true story of Travis Walton, and it's going to be premiering at Open Minds. And I've been fortunate in the last end of the production to help her with some technical stuff and also help her with some contract negotiations and a few other elements of the film. And so I was really happy to be involved with Jen again and work on it. And this is a really nice piece. It's very well done. We're going to be adding some really great special effects and some other elements to it in version 2. We're doing some really cool stuff in April to reenact Travis's actual experience. But Travis is involved, Stanton Friedman's involved, Peter Robbins is involved. People who go to Open Minds are going to be able to see the film. And I'm just happy to have been a small part of it.
This is kind of news to me. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Of course, having known Travis now for a number of years, I've always felt that his case was a special one. I know there's detractors out there and there's people that have differing opinions about his case. But knowing Travis, it's just, something definitely rocked that guy's world. And there's no question in my mind that something did happen to him. It may not, be exactly the way he remembers it. There's always some wiggle room there, but I do think he had a high strange experience. I don't think those guys were making this stuff up. Contrary to some people's belief about the case, I do feel it is one of the more important cases out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing any sort of project that he has signed on for, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be good.
Fans will not be disappointed. We've revisited the site. There's new interviews with all of the witnesses. There is a lot of archival video of the original people involved in it. There's follow-up interviews with them. It's a really, really well-done piece. A lot of people don't know that it's coming, and that's because, the people have been very, very busy making a great film and haven't really had time to put out a trailer.
So what's the timetable here? When do you expect to have it ready and released?
It's going to be in the Open Minds Festival if they accept it. It's been submitted, so in a few days.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Next week, the big premiere.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That should be good.
One other thing before we jump off the topic of ETs and disclosure, my new TV show on iVolve TV is called Bigger Questions, and there's a free episode on the website in our auditorium that is a follow-up to the Citizen Hearing with an extensive interview with Steve Bassett, and it's free to watch, and that's at ivolvetv.com, and then just click on the auditorium link.
In general, what new stuff are you thinking bringing to the Travis Walton story that hasn't been discussed over the last few decades?
Well, it's interesting because certainly you guys know that the movie, in fact, in the doc, we don't even really talk about the movie. We talk about what Travis's life has been like since the event happened. We revisit some of the actual things that were high controversy at the time and have had time for, to shake out over time. Stories haven't changed. People haven't backed off what they said they saw. Travis has always stuck to his guns. That's had an effect on his life and an effect on everybody that was involved in this. And, it takes a lot of courage to realize that, hey, maybe if I just backed off this story, I could get back to some sort of normalcy and not be that guy. And so there's a lot about that and a lot about Travis as a person. And there's just a lot of it's the the first real solid collection of archival material put together into a presentation. So you revisit the incident, you're there with the sheriff and the guy that administered the first set of lie detector tests, and all of that material is in there, old archives and new interviews. So it's it's the documentary that should have been done, 20 years ago. So yeah, it's definitely, anybody interested in the topic is going to learn something new, and they're going to see all of the pieces that they already knew put together in one place. And it's truly a nice piece.
What sort of myths or errors are you debunking in this documentary?
Well, I don't want to go too far, but there are certainly some things about the lie detectors, the lie detector tests, that have been confused at best. That's one. And there's some fantastic evidence that's going to be presented for the first time that has to do with unusual physical evidence that has manifested at the scene. And I can't talk about it, but I can tell you that it is documented. It is right there on tape. And when you see it with your own eyes, you see what's happened to the environment immediately around the scene over the years. It's pretty mind-blowing.
Now, do you find this with other incidents of this sort, where there was supposedly a kidnapping or an abduction, that the environment where the UFO allegedly landed is undergoing unusual changes?
Well, certainly you have anomalies happening at sites where unexplained phenomena is occurring. I mean, it's pretty well documented what happens at crop circle sites. It's well documented what happens at other sites. And then, of course, some sites there's nothing. The radiation thing is always a curiosity. This is none of those things. So I don't know that I've noticed a pattern of consistency through all these sites. And sometimes the so-called phenomena is pretty easy to debunk. What you're going to see in the Travis Walton film is not easy to debunk. It's real and it's physical and it's there and it's irrefutable. So and there is another instance of this exact phenomenon happening somewhere else where a similar event is rumored to have happened. So I don't want to go in too much on what you're going to see, but I promise there's a really good nugget in that film.
You do not believe in spoiler alerts. That's the thing I'm getting from you right now.
Well, I've already told you guys a lot about the film, and this is one piece that I just you guys just have to see it.
Okay, we got more to see, more to hear. We see Ron James as he squirms when we ask him hard questions. No, he doesn't. He's pretty straightforward and pretty level-headed about that. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
America's largest independently owned communications network, GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
We've been patiently waiting while you tried to ignore us, waiting while you acted like we didn't exist, waiting for our chance to be taken seriously. The wait is over. GCN is available 24/7 at GCNlive.com. Navigate through news from your favorite hosts and download archives of past shows. Download the app on your smartphone or tab or visit GCNlive.com for instant access and live streaming. GCNlive.com, the future of talk radio, now at your fingertips.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Call 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
The national crisis is here, and most people are not ready. If you could not leave home, how well would you fare? We've been told for years to have a supply of food stored, but the reasons may be different than you think. Infectious disease, domestic terrorism, and government regulations can and will prevent you from going to the store. If you've ever considered getting a supply of food, now is the time. Call Go Foods at 1-800-648-9753 or on the web at www.storefoodnow.com.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Hi, it's Grant Cameron from presidentialufo.com. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
On the Paracast with Gene and Chris, a reminder that video is coming soon. How soon, I don't know. We're still working on it. To the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. If you subscribe to our premium service with the ad-free version of the show, and after the Paracast, we get you a free copy of Stalking the Tricksters, the ebook version, from Christopher O'Brien at plus.theparacast.com. We're talking about projects underway by our documentary producer here, Mr. Ron James. Chris, you want to get into anything else about that before we get into some listener questions?
Yeah, in regard to trace evidence in landing sites, so just a quick point. There does appear to be some consistency in terms of effects on the soil. The soil is oftentimes totally, the moisture is totally stripped from the soil, leaving almost like a dry fusion crust behind. Water runs off, doesn't absorb into the ground. The Delphos case we mentioned, I think, the last show is a classic example of the effect of this particular craft, apparent craft landing, affected the environment for years afterwards. There's a really good picture that Colin Andrews has of where he had a landing, I think, outside of his school, and that mark stayed for decades there. In fact, I think you can almost you can still see the effect of that event 50 years later. So there are some interesting cases, I think, that have shown that physical effects in the environment can last literally for decades. So I'd be very interested to see what what kind of work's been done at the Travis site. And of course, that site is fairly close to where I live. If I could fly like a bird, I could be there in about 40 minutes, 35 minutes as the crow flies. So this is a wonderful part of the country here along the Mogollon Rim. And I'd be real interested to see the project, and much luck to them. Ron, you mentioned that you were going to talk about some of the projects that we were involved with. Your whole idea of doing a show on EVP, I think, is a good one. It's something that we've discussed a few times, and it is a controversial area. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of misconceptions about electronic voice phenomena, I should say. And why don't you give our listeners a sense of some of the work that we've done and projects that you have in the works that may address this particular mystery?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because, as a filmmaker, I believe in covering all of the subjects that are mysterious to us. And I've been doing UFOs for a while. I'm starting to get the tinfoil hat syndrome. And so, I've won the awards that are there to win, and I've made the films that are there to make, and I've interviewed the people that are there to interview. And so I'm going to take a little bit of a break from UFOs, and I'm going to go back to mysterious phenomenon such as ghosts and EVP. And, Chris, you and I made Dead Whisper together. And when that film came out, we presented some evidence of electronic voice phenomenon that pretty much goes beyond your typical debunking things that people will say. So, it's not stray radio waves. It's not this. It's not that. It's not your imagination. We found some stuff that was pretty hard to refute. One of the things, obviously, was the EVP with Robbie Thomas, where he was supposedly talking to the ghost of a little child. And he says, "What was your favorite time of year, Adam?" And then Robbie says, "Christmas." And when we listened to the tape a little bit later, we heard Christmas as an EVP right before Robbie says Christmas. And there was just no way that this was a coincidence. And there's no way that we faked it, because we're sitting here with the original voice recorder, and we still have those original files. Anybody can inspect them. They haven't been altered in any way. So to me, electronic voice phenomenon, regardless of what we think is causing it, is definitely real. And it is definitely something, to me, it's some of the strongest evidence for the existence of life beyond our perception. So we're getting back into that. And you remember, Chris, when we filmed Ghost Asylum, another movie that you and I made together, on the way back, you remember what we did in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. We went to the Memorial Park there at the former site of the Murrah building that was taken down by, I guess, homespun terrorists, if you will. And we did some EVP sessions there, and some of the things we got were just amazing, quite amazing.
We haven't released them yet because there's some questions regarding the copyright of the site. Basically, I sat in the exact spot where the truck blew up, and Chris videotaped me from about 20 feet away, and I pulled out a voice recorder and I started asking questions. And we were told that we couldn't film there for any commercial purposes, and my subsequent research has shown that it's a private company that puts the place maintains the place. And so we have some issues with the video as to whether we can even show it. And I think that if they find out, oh yeah, these guys did a seance at the site and they got this evidence, we're going to have some serious legal problems. So we're waiting through that. But at some point we're going to figure out a way to release it. When we got the EVP, I asked the typical questions, what happened to you here? And we got a lot of really weird stuff. But the EVP that was the most compelling was a distinct Southern accent said, "It was a bomb. The granite pinned us. People panicked." And it was so freaky that when we listened to it coming back, it was like, there's just when you get an EVP that has an accent or a dialect, which I've seen happen several times, that defies explanation. When you get an EVP that speaks in a language that's not spoken anymore, say an ancient Indian site, which Mike Esposito has shown me that he's done, that defies explanation. And so we're getting ready to get back into EVP in a big way. I put together a cast for a pilot show for Destination America. Whether or not they buy it is up to them. But It's going to be called just Ghost Voices, and it's not going to be guys running around in sheets and tennis shoes and a lot of fake stuff. It's going to be real EVP investigations with Chris, Michael Esposito, who is the EVP hero, and an unnamed female talent who's really going to bring a spark to the show. And so we'll be shooting it. We're going to shoot the first one within 30 to 60 days. And we know from our previous experience, we can go to places, we can get EVP just about anywhere. And Mike is such a good technician, and there's such a good chemistry in our team that where other ghost shows are using EVP as an aside, it's like, oh, we ran around, we acted scared, we showed you some fun in the dark footage and a little bit of drama. Oh, and by the way, we captured this voice, and here's a sound file, and then, cut to commercial. Our show is about EVP. It's about exploring what EVP is. It's about bringing forth unbelievable occurrences of EVP that defy all explanation. And it's about looking at the scientific and quantum nature of what EVP might be. So it's taking it to the next level. And that's what Chris and I are working on right now.
Just a brief question before we do our break. And that is, with these other shows, do you think sometimes to fit content into 43 minutes, which is the amount of content you get on the 1 hour TV reality show, they're making a few things up in terms of evidence?
Well, the spectrum is wide as far as what's permissible and what's being done, and it's getting worse and worse. So if you have to go to a break, let's pick that up when you come back, because that's a long answer.
Oh, boy. The implications of that are fascinating.
It's Holly weird.
Yeah. So, Chris, you want to open up with that question from your reader, and then we can answer Gene's question at the same time?
Hey, that's a plot. We'll do that when we do our break. A reminder, we have something else to give away, a copy of Secrets of the Mysterious Valley from Chris O'Brien. That's the other golden egg that he is presenting for us. And to get a copy free, you subscribe to our weekly newsletter at theparacast.com, Free sign-up, free newsletter. We won't inundate you with all sorts of crazy offers. Just the newsletter, and we'll send you out a copy of Secrets of the Mysterious Valley. And please, when you sign up, don't unsubscribe the next minute. And I've noticed, one or two people doing that sort of thing, because we're not going to send the book. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
A little right, a little left, but always independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Talk to a sales rep at iWeb.com. Use the promo code TechNightOwl for a special discount.
We all have our own idea about what being safe and secure means. The door's locked, bills are paid, you've got a job that keeps the lights on, and a home to call your own. But what happens when Mother Nature throws a curveball?
I'm telling you to take cover.
Are you prepared to live without electricity or passable roads for weeks at a time? Do you even have a plan B? If you do, are you willing to bet your life on it?
Children left with no homes. And no one's coming to help them.
The first step towards self-reliance in the face of disaster is a visit to mypatriotsupply.com. There you'll find the absolute best prices on storable foods, non-GMO seeds, emergency water filtration devices, and so much more. All orders over $49 qualify for free shipping in the lower 48 states. Call 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927 and speak to one of our preparedness advisors today, or visit us at mypatriotsupply.com. Remember, before it's time to survive, it's time to prepare.
The Freeze Dry Guy presents freeze-dried turkey, freeze-dried ham, and the no-bake casserole unit February sale. Listen, if you trust the Freeze Dry Guy, as thousands have for their emergency food supply since 1970, don't wait to hear how great this deal is, because it's unlimited supply. Call 866-404-3663 and ask for our new turkey and ham unit. Normal retail price $359.94. Sale price $251.94. You save $108. And it's chock full of high-quality, great-tasting freeze-dried diced turkey and ham from Mountain House, the gold standard in long-term storage products. Or get the Freeze Dry Guy's no-bake casserole unit. 153 servings per case at normal retail price of $215.94. Sale price $172.75. You save $43.19. But supplies are limited, and we always pay shipping right to your door within the lower 48 states. Call 866-404-3663 and make FreezeDryGuy.com a favorite and check for monthly specials. Don't miss the Freeze Dry Guy's February sale. Call 866-404-3663 or visit FreezeDryGuy.com.
What good is a Big Berkey water filter?
We get that question a lot here at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com, and in a word, the answer is protection. Protection from water main breaks, E. coli contamination, environmental chemical spills, pesticide runoff, chlorine taste and smell, and all forms of fluoride. Plus, Big Berkey water filters are the original gravity water filter system and most trusted on the market for a reason. Tested by multiple independent NSF EPA certified labs, they are the gold standard in water purification. At only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. That means big savings. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get a Big Berkey today at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit our website or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
With Gene and Chris in the Paracast, we have documentary producer Ron James with us. Of course, he produces stuff about the paranormal. And he said he had a long answer to a short question that I want to hear right now. Ron?
Yeah, we were talking about Hollywood and TV shows and what they do in the paranormal. Hollywood has a job, and that is to sell stuff. A very well-known TV executive once told me while I was trying to pitch a show, he said, what you do is filler for what we do. And at the end of the day, a TV show is made to sell toilet paper, Coca-Cola, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's the only reason it exists. So when we, as true paranormal aficionados, look to mainstream television to provide us with good, solid, concrete stuff, and that's not where you're going to find it. So you're going to find things that are created for entertainment value, and you're going to find a group of people who are concerned about ratings and everything else. What they do for us in a positive way is that they do spread awareness. You could watch these shows and they might be hyped. They might be making stuff up flat out. In fact, there's a huge trend towards that I'll discuss in a sec. But, at least they're opening people's eyes to these things. And the people that want to know more can get on the web and they can find out more and they can sift through what's fluff and what's truth. And so they serve their purpose and they entertain and they certainly expand the interest. But none of these shows are really on our side as far as, hey, we're going to present this solid evidence. It's going to be impeccable, and we're going to make sure that everything we say is absolutely verifiable. And because then, they're not accomplishing what they want to accomplish. So almost every major ghost show has been popped for, doing things that weren't quite true. And then now we have the fakecumentary, where they make these shows that seem like they're real, but they're not. There's monsters and myths on Destination America where they just make up these monsters. We're down in Arkansas looking for the three-toed pig man with the red eyes. And they actually have witnesses, and they have these old bozos that are running through the woods, and that's the show. And I don't know who's watching that kind of stuff, but it's a disturbing trend. The mermaid body discovered was a complete fake. The Megalodon shark documentary was a complete fake. And these things are made huge, big budget fake movies, and only in very small type at the end of the thing do you see that they're fictionalized. So we can't expect Hollywood to serve the true desires of the paranormal community with integrity, but we can expect them to entertain us.
Well, that's the big problem here. If people are accustomed to seeing something that's just entertainment, that's either exaggerated or just plain untrue, when you present the real information to them, they assume this is just entertainment too. How do you make a distinction?
Well, I think that people have the ability to discern, and people that really get into it, like, let's look at Ancient Aliens. I'm not going to say anything negative about what these guys are doing, but let's face it, they're in season 6, and it's like, on a mountaintop in Bolivia, a rock with a particular shade of green has been discovered. It must have been aliens. It's like they're running out of stuff, and where they might have had at first some really compelling evidence, they've really stretched the truth. I mean, there's entire shows that are out there just debunking. An episode of Ancient Aliens comes up, and then on YouTube 3 days later, there's a whole episode of Ancient Aliens debunked. That was and still is one of the best shows out there for presenting this kind of evidence. People can discern. If you watch an episode of any show and you want to know more, you're going to hop online and you're going to start learning. If you see a EVP happen in a show and you want to know, wow, what is that really? I personally want to know more. Then you're going to get online. You're going to read the debunkers of EVP. You're going to read what the people that support it as a legitimate phenomenon have to say, and you're going to make up your own mind. And for the casual observer, they don't care. They watch the ghost show and they go on about their lives, and they don't even give it a second thought. But for the people that haven't been exposed to this and are prone to wanting to investigate these kind of mysteries, whether it's true or not, it at least serves the purpose of awakening the curious mind. And again, I put a lot of faith in people's ability to discern. I'm not so much of an editor of the information that I put out, as long as it's put out in integrity. You can go to Evolve TV and you can find videos about crystal healing. Do I particularly think that crystal healing is the next medical modality? No, but some people do. And I leave it to them to decide if it's something they want to pursue. So I think these mainstream media shows, they're not always 100% the truth. They tend to sensationalize things, but they do serve a purpose. And for people that really want to know, they can serve as a doorway to deeper investigation.
Or maybe just turn them off. Oh, it's just entertainment. Why should we take it seriously?
Well, again, Gene, the people that really want the answer are going to go find the answer. If when I first saw Ancient Aliens, again, I keep going back to that because I think it really is a groundbreaking show. When I first saw it, I was amazed by what they were showing me. So I hopped online and I did my own research about Pumapunku, and I did my own research about these places. And so even if I think it's not true, if I'm the kind of person who's prone to that kind of thing, if I have a curiosity about ghosts or I have a curiosity about our place in the universe, I will go through that and I will find my own answers. And if that show happens to be the doorway that caught my attention and made me go find out for myself, it's okay. I don't think anybody goes, oh, that's all bull, and just moves on. If they're casual observers, maybe. But in that case, in the case of the casual observer, the show will tend to have them say, well, maybe it's real, because they're not going to, most of these shows have truth blended with fiction, blended with sensationalism, blended with carefully timed breaks so they can sell you Coca-Cola, but they create curiosity. And even if you say, well, I don't think that was a ghost that guy saw, or I don't think that was a ghost voice, or I don't think that story about alien abduction is true, your curiosity is awakened. And once your curiosity is awakened, it's up to you rather to let it stay awake or to put it to sleep.
Well, isn't that the same argument you would then make for presenting people with less than compelling testimony or clearly faked stories at UFO events? It doesn't matter as long as you get people curious.
Well, no, because, I think that as you get deeper into the genre, your responsibility for integrity increases. When you're just casually watching a UFO show, okay, that's mainstream. It's not it. But when you're a UFO investigator and you're showing up at a conference, or you're a UFO filmmaker who has made a reputation for supposedly conveying the truth, your responsibility to the truth, the deeper you get into the genre, your responsibility to the truth increases. So when you're making casual stuff for mainstream digestion and you're doing it inside what we call the Hollywood Hollywood formula, you can get away with a certain amount of stuff and people get it and nobody really gets mad. But when you are presenting evidence at a conference, or you are on the big radio shows, or you're writing the books, your responsibility is completely different. And so I think that when you get deeper into some of the scandals and some of the questionable things that we've seen, the repercussions and the sadness in what's really going on gets worse.
Unfortunately, I think we see that on TV news, where it's done for entertainment, where they basically gin up stories. They make phony scandals. They exaggerate the news. And all that happens is that people who should be informed about what's going on, because so many important things are going on, are now being misled by some elements of the mainstream media. I will not name the worst offenders. I think a lot of our listeners know who those offenders are.
Is there a reason we can't name the worst offenders?
You know what? Why don't you do it? What the heck?
Well, I don't know who you think is the worst offenders. I mean, all of the big mainstream media people are all puppets. You can find videos online on YouTube of talking points. Just Google talking points on YouTube, and you'll see that on any given day, the same newscasters across dozens of outlets are saying the exact same words, and somebody's feeding them that. And it's not, it could be on CNN, it could be on Fox, it could be on any of these outlets across different supposedly competitive outlets, but they're saying the same stuff. And it's really freaky because they're not saying the same basic thing. They're saying the same thing word for word. So it's irrefutable evidence that somebody somewhere is feeding the mainstream media the stuff they're supposed to say. There's two kinds of people, and there's the kind that are really interested in this stuff, and they've done enough personal investigation to know what's going on. We know that the United States is becoming an oligarchy, and we know that the control is really happening by people that we don't see. And then there's people who don't care. And so at the end of the day, this deception, it's an obvious, blatant deception. Even the people that don't care know what's going on. They just don't care. What we're ending up with, oddly enough, is even though we have this manipulative BS media that's feeding us this stuff, we all know that that's exactly what's happening. Are we really being deceived, or are we just allowing the deceivers to keep doing what they're doing? And if we want to know the truth, we know already that there's other places to find it.
Unfortunately, I talk to some people who believe that these fabricated stories or exaggerated stories are true, but that's another story. We can get to that on a different show, maybe. We have Ron James, documentary producer. I'm going to ask him, by the way, what quantum paranormal is all about in our next segment with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast. Independently leading the way for the nation. Compelling talk for every political persuasion. We are GCN.
Good people need help. The Homeowners Association said we had weeds and fined us $25. We told them they had the wrong house. They said if we didn't pay it, they'd file a lien. Our attorney demanded photographs, witnesses, and told them if they couldn't provide this, they must cease and desist. Issue solved. Worry less and live more with lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com, or call 855-340-SAVE. That's 855-340-7283.
Results will vary from case to case.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
The human body is extraordinary. Despite all the stresses we inflict upon it, it still works hard to stay in balance. Thousands upon thousands of people rely upon Heart and Body Extract to help their body stay balanced. This excellent 100% natural herbal formula helps maintain healthy blood pressure levels, cleans arteries, promotes good circulation, balances cholesterol, and more. HB Extract, paired with healthy lifestyle choices like good nutrition and exercise, can give you a life free of pain, sickness, and fear. Recapture your youthful vitality and experience your body healing itself with the aid of HB Extract. It's extremely effective, and it starts working in just days. Visit hbextract.com to learn more and to read scores of testimonials from satisfied customers. And we've never increased our price in over 10 years. That makes Heart and Body Extract as great a value now as it was the first day we sold it. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Call 866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Before we veer off this topic, there's a question on our forums that I think is a good one that I'd like to bring up at this point. And this really has to do, I think, with a lot of what Ron was just talking about in terms of integrity. And this question comes from Alien Esquire. He's a fairly recent sign-up at forum.theparacast.com. And he has a hesitation regarding the expansion of paranormal media coverage because he thinks that Hollywood will destroy the credibility of the investigators involved. He gives the TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, as an example. And he's wondering, Ron, what steps, if any, can these groups or individuals take to avoid the Hollywood stigma without turning away the opportunity to expand the very media coverage that they're hoping to promote?
Well, it's very interesting because it's the classic illustration of compromising your integrity. Nobody at TAPS was forced to go along with anything that may have been conveyed that was less than true unless they decided that the money was worth it. And so if you're going to go in and you're going to do this work, you have to be uncorruptible. With the way the mainstream machine puts the grips on you, hey, you're making $5-10 grand an episode, ratings are slipping a little, we got to kick it up a notch, the producers are going to do some things, okay, whatever. The truth of the matter is that I don't think there really is a way to 100% preserve yourself. If
get slimed.
If you're an expert in the field and you go on there and the TV show decides to make you look foolish, there's nothing you can do. You just have to hope you reach some people. If you find yourself in a situation like, there's a lot of rumors about TAPS and a lot of their episodes, and there's videos on YouTube where supposedly it was a ghost and you freeze frame it and it's a guy in a sheet with tennis shoes on. And it's just like, what's going on with that? So it's really up to the individual people. I know that, I would rather take the show that we're getting ready to do and make it a web-only show and do it the way we want to do it than get into a position where we have to compromise something.
Right.
And so ultimately, and that's why the net neutrality thing is so cool. Ultimately, independent producers making the content they want to make and distributing it across the internet to the people who want to see that content. It's the way of the future. And so that's really the only way you can do it. And then you have to monetize it. And that's a whole different story. But the democracy of media is getting better and better. And the ways to sidestep the mainstream media machine, the machine is dying. And it's almost like, why bother at this point? Sure, a network can reach 20 million people, 30 million people in a night. And they still have this broad reach, which is appealing to advertisers. But at the end of the day, if you're really aficionado of delivering hardcore, honest information, you don't want to do a weekly show. You don't want to be in that. You want to do something on the web, and you got to hope, just like you guys at Paracast are hoping that enough people will subscribe so you can keep making this show. The people out there have to understand, if you don't want BS that's supported by Jack in the Box and Monsanto delivered to your living room, and then you complain about, well, why is it not, high integrity, hardcore paranormal stuff, then you got to be part of the solution. And the way you're part of the solution is you support in some way the people that are trying to give you this unfiltered information. And if you don't, then, you don't have anything to complain about.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody to blame but yourself. And, I think that there's, Ron, I've always applauded since you moved out to LA to get involved in what could be termed the conscious media movement, which is actually looking at these questions of integrity, of actually presenting information accurately and in a form that's educational and doesn't compromise on truth. I think this whole idea of conscious media, ratcheting down maybe several dozen murders in your TV show, or try to come up with just something that has some redeeming qualities. There's such just utter crap that's on TV. I haven't had broadcast television for 8 years almost, and for good reason. I really think that this is an important issue. I think our kids are just being slam dunked with violence, and and they're becoming desensitized to the human condition, and that's not right. And we definitely have to get our heads around that.
You know what's interesting, and I'll actually come to the defense of Hollywood in this. If you go on YouTube and you just Google Ron James, Tom Shadyac, Tom was the director for the Ace Ventura movies and a lot of the other movies that Jim Carrey did. Big guy, he's flying around in Learjets. And then he ended up making this film called I Am. I asked Tom Shadyac this because I personally believe that media has a social obligation, because of its power and its reach, to facilitate positive change for humanity. And so I am on the record of putting this question to executives at Sony. I mean, I've got a lot of video interviews where I've asked these people. And so you can find the one with me and Tom, and he sums it up quite well. When enough people want it, they will deliver it. The problem is right now that if you give somebody a choice between watching a woman have a spiritual experience or watching a woman get beat over the head by a robber, people are going to gravitate towards the latter. And so until people start saying, hey, we don't want the violence, we don't want this, we want television to be enriching, they're not going to deliver it. But it's a very responsive crowd, and they're all about money. And if enough people say, we'd rather watch a piece of media that helps us spiritually evolve than watch a piece of media that shows us, what serial killers are thinking, Hollywood's going to be making that media so fast, nobody will know that it came.
Certainly hope that we're going to also convince the media not to show people being burned alive by terrorists, but that's another story. I want to move on here because we only have a few segments left and more listener questions and more talking points to get to. And now I want to ask you, what do you mean by quantum paranormal? Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, I've done all of the paranormal fields in my work as a filmmaker, been in a lot of interesting situations. I've never really had like this definitive experience. I've had some really wild stuff happening, ghostly phenomenon, but I've never been abducted by a UFO. I've never even seen a UFO, but I'm still fascinated by these topics. And as a filmmaker, I try to keep a journalistic attitude. So I'm not really out there forwarding ideas that are too far out. I'll present the information, but my own personal opinions are a lot more conservative. With my experience, I feel like I can have those opinions, and I do. And when I say the quantum paranormal, my show, Bigger Questions, and the direction that I'm actually taking my work is in realizing and understanding and bringing to the forefront that we're in a day and age with the advancement of science that we may be looking at solid scientific theories that actually prove the existence of these phenomenon in a way that that science and practitioners can reconcile. So, just for instance, life after death, which is one of my favorite topics. Traditionally, neuroscientists would tell you that consciousness resides in the brain and that when the brain dies, that's it. Now, lately, even in medical schools, neuroscientists are being taught that the possibility that the universe is holographic and that consciousness can actually transfer out of the brain into the collective ether, the dark matter, the collective consciousness, whatever you want to call it, is a valid theory. So what that's saying is that, hey, we can say there's life after death, but can we prove it? Well, now we're coming to a day and age where, yes, maybe we can prove it. Maybe as we discover that we have a holographic universe and we prove it scientifically, we discover that the transference of consciousness from the brain into another state, a ethereal being, is something that is actually easy to quantify scientifically. So the quantum paranormal to me is the fusion of science and paranormal activity. And as you look at every paranormal phenomenon and you butt it up against some of the latest scientific theories on how the universe works and how reality works, you find some really interesting correlations. So, you talk about electronic voice phenomenon. As they're discovering different dimensional theories about how different dimensions interact, how there can be areas where dimensional doorways exist. This is all being postulated scientifically. So let's say, maybe a electronic voice phenomenon isn't so much a ghost. Maybe it's just bleed over from something else. Or maybe it's just like when you turn a channel on a radio, you hear the song on one frequency, you turn it just a little bit more and that frequency is gone.
Yeah, let's end it right here and let's go into the next segment. We have Ron James with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting. and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
Have you ever felt like the United States government knows way too much about your financial affairs? I continue to hear stories about property seizures, frozen bank accounts, confiscation of stocks and bonds. It makes me wonder if the U.S. citizen will ever again have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, with the Drug and Money Laundering Act, the IRS Revenue Ruling 6045 of 1984, and the Trading with the Enemy Act and Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order of 1933, some precious metal holdings are subject to government intervention. For this reason, Midas Resources has prepared a report explaining the boundaries of trading precious metals privately. Whether if you have any intention of trading with Midas Resources or not, I have instructed my representatives to give this report out free. Call for your free copy at 1-800-686-2237. When investing, always proceed with caution. Again, call 1-800-686-2237. Exercise your legal right to trade metals privately. 1-800-686-2237.
The human body is extraordinary. Despite all the stresses we inflict upon it, it still works hard to stay in balance. Thousands upon thousands of people rely upon Heart and Body Extract to help their body stay balanced. This excellent 100% natural herbal formula helps maintain healthy blood pressure levels, cleans arteries, promotes good circulation, balances cholesterol, and more. HB Extract, paired with healthy lifestyle choices like good nutrition and exercise, can give you a life free of pain, sickness, and fear. Recapture your youthful vitality and experience your body healing itself with the aid of HB Extract. It's extremely effective and it starts working in just days. Visit hbextract.com to learn more and to read scores of testimonials from satisfied customers. And we've never increased our price in over 10 years. That makes Heart and Body Extract as great a value now as it was the first day we sold it. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Call 866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
The Freeze-Dry Guy presents freeze-dried turkey, freeze-dried ham, and the no-bake casserole unit February sale. Listen, if you trust the Freeze-Dry Guy, as thousands have for their emergency food supply since 1970, don't wait to hear how great this deal is because it's unlimited supply. Call 866-404-3663 and ask for our new turkey and ham unit. Normal retail price $359.94. Sale price $251.94. You save $108. And it's chock full of high-quality, great-tasting freeze-dried diced turkey and ham from Mountain House, the gold standard in long-term storage products. Or get the Freeze-Dry Guy's no-bake casserole unit. 153 servings per case at normal retail price of $215.94. Sale price $172.75. You save $43.19. But supplies are limited and we always pay shipping right to your door within the lower 48 states. Call 866-404-3663 and make freezedryguy.com a favorite and check for monthly specials. Don't miss the Freeze-Dry Guy's February sale. Call 866-404-3663 or visit freezedryguy.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So are we talking, Ron James, then about multiple realities? When you change the channel, you go from reality B to reality A and vice versa. Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, it's so big that's, certainly that doesn't sum it up. But when we look at the theory that science says that whenever a possibility exists, it splinters off into a new reality, then we look at this giant conglomeration of different realities all coexisting, bouncing up against each other, interfering with each other on some level, like we've shown with photons and quantum interference. And we've shown with some of the new scientific discoveries like quantum photosynthesis, how realities and dimensions intertwine. can't go into quantum photosynthesis right now, but anybody who wants to Google it will find that what's been discovered happening in plants is absolutely mind-blowing breakthrough in how reality actually doesn't have to function all the time in work. It's one of the reasons that I think the theory of everything hasn't been discovered, is because what they're finding out with the way different dimensions and different things interact is that when reality can't function under the laws of physics, there's a mechanism to allow it to cheat, which is why you can't mathematically prove it, because you can't mathematically define a variable such as that. When we look at quantum theory and what's happening with our perception of reality, our perception of consciousness, our perception of our world, and we look at paranormal phenomenon, there's going to be a marriage here. And so that's what I'm exploring in my latest work and in my TV show, is what is really going on and how can we reconcile it? Because scientists, then the life after death thing is a great example. Scientists are actually willing to look at this stuff, and if it can make sense, they're willing to support it. And so when we start looking at, NASA is developing a warp drive. So now all of a sudden the question is, can we warp space? Science is saying, yes, we can. So all the people who say, well, it can't be aliens, they're too far away. Well, now science is saying, well, hold on a second, maybe there is a way for them to get here. Again, it's the quantum paranormal. It's science marrying phenomenon that up until now have been considered out of the question. And there's dozens of examples of this. And so that's kind of the direction I'm taking now with what I'm doing, because it's just fascinating to watch scientific possibility and paranormal phenomenon, two things that were once completely separated, kind of starting to come together, and looking at that day when the paranormal is normal after all.
So you almost think, when I hear you, that we're talking about a reality that's not consistent. As our perceptions or beliefs in that reality expand, the reality itself expands to accommodate what we expect, what we can do.
Oh, well, I think that with the evolution of the mind, I've always been one of those people who absolutely thinks we're living in some kind of a matrix. David Deutsch, The Nature of Reality, he's a scientist working on the quantum computer at Oxford, talks about how, our reality really does function like a simulation. Whether you buy the whole matrix thing or not, we all know it's scientific proof that the solid objects aren't really solid. They're just atoms vibrating at a certain frequency to create an illusion of solidity. So, yeah, as our understanding of reality expands, our mind capability expands, our intelligence expands, it all changes. And I think that reality is a very fluid thing. And so it's just really interesting to see how it's all unfolding. And when you're out there on the edge of this stuff and you're looking at how do we reconcile it all? Because at the end of the day, it has to reconcile. If electronic voice phenomenon is really happening and science is saying, well, it can't be happening, well, that's unacceptable. There has to be a reconciliation where science says, okay, electronic voice phenomenon is happening, and maybe this is how. And so we can't continue with these conflicting facts, because there is definitely phenomenon happening with relationship to things we don't understand happening in the sky. There's things happening with the abduction phenomenon that we don't understand, but we can't keep denying it. But if we're going to acknowledge it, then we have to have a mechanism for it to prove scientifically valid. And I honestly think that's what's happening right now. We're in this time where science is starting to say, well, wait a minute, maybe this is possible, and here's how. So that's what the quantum paranormal is, and that's the direction that you're going to be seeing a lot of my work, and definitely my TV show, Bigger Questions, is going in.
That's pretty heady stuff. Again, I've watched your process now for 10 years, and, I'm really enjoying the direction that your work is headed, and I, support it in every way I can. One thing that I particularly kind of miss about the seriousness of the subject matter and the amount of gravitas that, really deservedly so should be brought to it. There's a question here that kind of looks at that and sort of turns it upside down a little bit. And this comes from one of our active participants at forum.theparacast.com, Dissection Stalker. And he's wondering why shows don't throw in some comedy or some light-hearted aspects, because people look for the humor in both skeptics and believers are going to want to look at humor at some point. The wisecracker type, Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart, that they have kind of off-kilter opinions and they crack jokes. Well, why don't we see more of that in the coverage of the paranormal? Obviously, you can't be taken seriously if you're cracking jokes all the time. But is there a place for humor and lightheartedness in the coverage of these topics by the media? What do you think?
Well, I think that there's a fine line between humor and lightheartedness and ridicule. And I think that when you realize that line exists, then there's a lot of humor already. But, it's interesting that you mentioned that because, when we did the investigations for the Haunted Southwest movie, which we haven't released yet with Amy April Allen and Mike Esposito and you and I was cracking jokes all the time. And I kind of think that I want to bring that element of humor to the show that we're about to do because I'm a funny guy. And I like to make people laugh. And in the media that I put out, it's not really there. And so I've asked myself often, it's like, how come you can't be that guy that cracks the joke and makes the whole room laugh in your stuff? And so we're certainly going to do that. It's going to be kind of cool. So yeah, that's coming for sure.
Yeah.
Humor and the paranormal. That was kind of like the stock and trade of the late Jim Moseley and Gray Barker. They tried to insert humor in the way they did their hoaxes or just in the way they treated content sometimes. But sometimes people just take that too seriously.
Yeah.
The other thing is like, I really love sci-fi. And I think that when you have good science fiction, there's no place for humor in good science fiction. And that's just, that's my own personal opinion. But when you look at some of these shows that try to plug humor into science fiction, it just ruins it. I like my science fiction dark and gloomy and there's an alien somewhere and it's, and it's serious. There's a serious nature of exploring the future. And so, when you're jumping into telephone booths, cracking jokes and disappearing, it's always been a little bit of a disappointment for me. I've never gravitated towards those kind of shows. But then again, we have a guy here who is a stalker, dismemberer dude, and so I don't want to make him mad because he might show up at my house. So yeah, humor coming. Whatever you want, we'll do it.
And if you want humor in science fiction, there's always the movie Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
Star Trek Send Up that actually became kind of a cult classic.
That was one of the few successful integrations of humor and sci-fi, and Spaceballs was another one.
Yeah.
Well, I had a chance once to talk to Tim Allen at length about the movie, and he was really pretty bright guy, a lot more than what you expect some of these dumb comedies he's done on TV and everything. We have Ron James joining us. He's not a stand-up comedian, but we'll see. Chris O'Brien might be. We'll see. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Independently leading the way for the nation. Compelling talk for every political persuasion. We are GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
Hi, this is Steve Sanchez, and based on a recent study, it was found that 57 million Americans had legal issues over the last 12 months, but only 60% of those studied sought out the services of a lawyer. Why? In a nutshell, affordability. Well, my friends at Legal Shield have created a solution that can help you not if, but when you need an attorney. For as little as $17 per month, Legal Shield will provide you unlimited access to qualified attorneys at an accomplished law firm for advice and counsel on legal issues, no matter how serious or trivial. For over 40 years and with 1.4 million families across North America, Legal Shield can help you, the loyal GCN listener. Representatives are standing by now to answer your questions, so call them now at 1-855-340-SAVE. That's 1-855-340-7283, or visit them at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com.
Results will vary from case to case.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Call 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
What good is a big Berkey water filter?
We get that question a lot here at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And in a word, the answer is protection. Protection from water main breaks, E. coli contamination, environmental chemical spills, pesticide runoff, chlorine taste and smell, and all forms of fluoride. Plus, Big Berkey water filters are the original gravity water filter system and most trusted on the market for a reason. Tested by multiple independent NSF EPA certified labs, they are the gold standard in water purification. At only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. That means big savings. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get a Big Berkey today at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit our website or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Hi, this is Joshua P. Warren, author of The Poor Man's Paranormal, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
On the Paracast with Gene and Chris, a couple more segments to spend with Ron James telling us about his work as a producer. And of course, we want to remind you that there's going to be a Paracast TV channel, some video content coming in the near future to the Paracast Plus. To learn more about what we offer, just go to plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. We have a lot of things going on there, including the After the Paracast podcast, so we'll let you know what that's about. Now, I'm just going to segue to a totally different subject about your work. You, sir, Ron James, are a book author. Now, I know I've done that in the past, and I haven't done it in a while. Chris continues to do it. I know it's a disease that some people never recover from. Tell us more about the book.
Well, I used to write a lot of fiction. I've probably published maybe about 30 magazine articles as nonfiction. So I have a little bit of a background as a writer. And then when I was younger, I got into writing horror, and I was just totally into it. And people would ask me, well, how come you're writing horror? And I used to have this little joke. I'd say, "'Cause I want to scare you as much as you scare me." I got very well known in the horror field. I was the chairman of publicity for the Horror Writers Association at one time. And but one of my works was suggested for a Bram Stoker Award. So I was moving in that field. But then I decided that I didn't really want to write horror anymore. And I started looking around the world. All of these things that I work on in my work, the paranormal, the UFOs, I've done a video with David Icke, and so I'm kind of up on all the Illuminati conspiracy theory stuff and the evolution of human consciousness, because I've done a lot of work in metaphysical. And I'm like, well, what could I do that just encompasses all of that? So I wrote a book called Messiah Awakenings, and it is a fiction book. The premise of the book is that the Illuminati, the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, the book is set in the near future. Society is coming apart at the seams. We're closer to war. There's plagues, there's epidemics, there's earthquakes, there's all kinds of things happening around the world that seem to mark the arrival of the prophecies of Armageddon and Revelation. Only we find out very early on in the book that none of this stuff is really happening. It's all being created using technology and deception by an elite group of people who want to use the prophecies of Armageddon to cement their enslavement of humanity. So, in other words, the plagues are all genetically engineered plagues. They're designed to target certain genomes and certain people in certain regions and then peter out. The earthquakes are being caused by HARP-like devices that are targeting earthquakes. So these guys actually hire the Antichrist. They pull a terrorist out of the Middle East and install him in power in Iraq. And he begins to perform miracles like faces in the clouds and the face of God and the voice of God. And it's all being done by technology. These guys are just totally into this whole thing. It's theatrics on a giant scale. You know, the world is sinking. All of a sudden, on Christmas Eve, a mysterious coma patient awakens in a hospital in LA, and he suddenly takes the world stage as the new Messiah. And the ultimate story culminates in the battle for the hearts and minds of humanity among these two forces. Are there aliens? Maybe. Are there paranormal slants to what's happening? Sure. Is the nature of reality one of the main characters in the book? Absolutely. It's more truth than fiction, and it's just a big kick. And it's only available on Kindle right now. It's Messiah Awakenings. If you have Kindle Prime, you can read it for free. So yeah, I just took all of the stuff that I've learned and come to understand, and I put it together into a fiction book starring some of the biggest characters to ever walk the earth. So it's a heck of a read. The people that are reviewing it have commented about the quality of the prose, and it's an amazing story. So I invite everybody to check it out.
Do you plan on a printed version of this book?
Yeah, I'm going to put out the printed version on Easter. I released this one on Christmas Eve. I actually spent 16 years writing this book. I started it on Christmas Eve 16 years ago. And
he had no sleep, whatever. He must be very tired. 16 years without sleep.
Well, you know, I put the book down because I didn't feel that I was spiritually in a position where I had enough understanding to write the character of a resurrected Christ. And so, you know, that journey took me on an odyssey all over the place. I spent time in Sedona studying all kinds of spiritual modalities and trying to get a better grip on what's going on here so that when this guy wakes up out of his coma and starts to talk, this stuff will resonate. So I've put some really cutting edge spiritual knowledge into this. There's cutting edge truth about what these global elite Illuminati types are actually trying to accomplish, and you know what the alien hand may be or may not be, or maybe they're not even aliens at all. And it's all just put together into this story that just rocks from page one.
Well, I'm going to want to read the PDF version. I know I was supposed to do that around Christmas, and I fell down on the job, and I promise, Ron James, I will read it, I will review it, I will give you my honest opinion. Fair?
Awesome. Yep. It's Messiah Awakenings by Ron James, available on Kindle. Sorry, shameless plug.
We'll have to get you to put it in iBooks too, but then Kindle owns the market.
Yeah, the iBook version is coming. I did that Kindle exclusive deal for 3 months, so that's the only place you can get it for 90 days, and then I'll put it out some other places.
Chris, we have some more questions of Ron.
Asking about your video library, Dissection Stalker again. Hopefully, he doesn't show up at your door complaining, but.
Especially with that name, I worry about him.
I know. I'm like, hey, whatever that guy wants, not a problem.
Well, he's wondering if you can get your programming on Amazon Prime or Netflix so he doesn't have to stream it to watch it.
Yeah. It is available. Some of it's available on Amazon Video on Demand. Netflix, no. You know, Netflix to me is like every time somebody comes to me and says they got my video on Netflix, I'm like, wow, that's terrible. That means 10,000 people are going to watch your video and you don't even have enough money to pay your rent. It's just not, it's not a good place to be.
But doesn't Netflix give you money for this?
They give you a little bit of money, but they don't give you enough money to make your next film.
With all the money they have, of course, they can give money to the producers of House of Cards or to Daredevil or something.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But for your little independent films, they used to pay like $1,200 and, you know, places that there's just not a lot of money in it. But the truth is that I've set up iVolve TV. It has everything and you can subscribe to it. You can watch it a la carte. We will have Roku pretty soon, and pretty soon we'll have apps that will work on smart TVs. That's the direction that I'm taking iVolve Television. But none of that is in place yet. But you know, go to the channel. You could watch stuff. You could watch my entire library and a lot of content from other people that you can't find anywhere else. And you can watch it on any device, anywhere, even your TV. You know, hook your iPad to your television, and there you go. And that's where I'm going to put it, because that's, I don't want to put it anyplace else where I can't support myself by making the stuff available. It touches on the whole media quandary right now. Is for some reason, people seem to think that filmmakers should be working for free, and that what we do, we should do it, and we should give it to everybody. And I always tell people, it's like, would you go to your job for free and not get paid? And people just don't get it. You either have to watch the commercials on the YouTube videos and let the people get their money for that. You have to pay per view, or you have to put up with the mainstream stuff that's full of the commercials you don't want to watch. But somehow or another, we need a public understanding between independent filmmakers and viewers and consumers of content that we have to be supported. I've got a whole stack of edited material that I can't afford to pay an editor to help me finish. Chris and I have an unreleased film that's probably the best we've ever made that just needs a few $1,000 more thrown at it to be world class. We can't do that when people just expect us to give our stuff away. Wow. So go to iVolve TV and pay $1.99 and try not to stalk me for that one.
It's very interesting here how we pay $100 a month or more for cable or satellite TV. And we know that money is going to networks. It's going to the cable or satellite provider. So it's not as if you're getting free content. Even if you get commercial-free content from HBO and Showtime, you're paying a premium price to get that free content. When you get Netflix, you're paying a monthly fee to get that. So, for example, if we ask you, if you don't want to hear the commercials, to pay for subscribing to the Paracast Plus at plus.theparacast.com, it's the same logic. Someone has to pay us some way. We just can't do this stuff year after year for free. The show has been on 8 years, never missed an episode. We got more to come with Ron James and Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Great minds think alike. The network for the independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network. GCN.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Farmers keep their livestock lean and healthy with a mineral-rich diet. Before market, they cut off minerals, leaving them to crave high-calorie grains. If weight control is this easy, why prescribe surgery for humans? Avoid 900 different diseases by getting 90 essential nutrients. Check out sonsoflibertyteam.com, order your Healthy Start Pack, and get your 90 for life, or call 855-301-TEAM. Essential, not optional. 90 for life at sonsoflibertyteam.com or 855-301-TEAM. That's 855-301-TEAM.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Hey, guess what? They've got some great deals for Valentine's Day at guns80.com. They're calling it the Sweetheart Special. Guns80.com has lowered the price way down to $400 up until Valentine's Day. Order your Ghost AR-15 now. Tell your sweetheart that this is the right gift at the right time. Buy one for yourself. Buy one for your sweetheart, too. Your sweetheart will thank you for being so tuned into his or her needs. Get a brand new Ghost AR-15 right now for $400. Heck, buy two. His and hers. Go to guns80.com or call and ask for the sweetheart deal. Love is in the air at guns80.com. Call now, 844-2GUNS80. That's 844-248-6780. It's a sweetheart of a deal. Actually, it's a steal at $400. So call guns80.com at 844-2GUNS80. But hurry, supplies are limited. Call 844-2GUNS80 or get your Ghost AR-15 today at guns80.com on the web.
This is Robert Hastings, author of UFOs and Nukes, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So there it is, the struggling artist. Of course, we go to the movies and we pay, how much is it for a movie in 3D now or an IMAX in a big city? Well, the popcorn is sometimes more expensive than the movie. You know, you spend, what, $6.50 or $7.50 for the matinee. Used to do that with the wife. We want to get the early show rather than pay for the evening and all the crowds and everything. You want to get a Diet Coke or something, it's $6. Or popcorn. I don't do popcorn anymore, Ron James.
Well, now, you know, prices on popcorn have actually come down a little bit since the success of the GMO theatrical popcorn manufactured by Monsanto. It's bigger kernels and they pop faster, so technically they save electricity. So your popcorn's down by about 15 cents.
Oh, that's spectacular.
Yes. Of course, it'll make you grow purple nose hairs, but they don't know that yet.
Or maybe I'll grow chemtrails.
Chemtrails. Funny you should mention chemtrails, Gene.
Tell me about chemtrails.
Well, you know, oddly enough, the Conscious Life Expo is coming up this weekend in LA, and there's going to be live streaming. So if you go to consciouslifeexpo.com, you can sign on to see some of these events and some of these panels. And I have been tapped to moderate the geoengineering panel. For people that don't really know what that is, geoengineering is the new hip, cool phrase for chemtrails and all of those things, because now it's, you know, starting to come out that there's probably something going on to control the climate and everything else, and that these chemtrails are part of it. And so where it used to be chemtrails and more people with tinfoil hats, now it's geoengineering. And some legit people are coming out to talk about what it might be.
What do you think chemtrails are?
You know, it's interesting because I've been looking at this for a while, and I believe that they've developed a disbursement agent that is capable of hosting a variety of different elements depending on the application. So there's a way that they've created for the planes to go and fly and put this stuff out. And first off, I don't think we can deny chemtrails. If you've really watched what happens to the sky when these things are really being sprayed, they come out of the plane, they linger, unlike a contrail would just dissipate, and then they slowly start to spread. And pretty soon, after about 4 hours of a chemtrail crisscross pattern, and really what kind of jet traffic flies crisscross patterns near major airports, you know, so it's all pretty obvious. Then it turns into a haze, and sometimes that haze will have a metallic sheen. And so, you know, people that say, well, chemtrails are totally debunkable, they're not paying a lot of attention. Chris, do you remember in Sedona when you and I were filming chemtrails, and that we still have the video, another great piece we haven't put out? Do you remember that one where the chemtrail stopped for like 2 miles and then started again?
Yeah, I've seen that before. You know, there are some misnomers, I think, about persistent contrails versus chemtrails. I have done quite a bit of research into this, and basically what you're seeing oftentimes is the effect of the kerosene and residual moisture high up in the atmosphere. If those trails are coming directly off the plane, if there's not a gap, a 50-foot, 60-foot gap between the engines and the start of the exhaust, if there's no gap, that means that those are nozzles probably spraying something. I've only seen that just a handful of times. The rest of the time, what appears to be chemtrails, or actually it's persistent contrails. And what they're doing is they're going out in the morning, especially here in the Southwest, and they're spraying with small planes. They're spraying silver iodide into the atmosphere, and it's the action of the commercial jets going over and the kerosene exhaust that then attracts the moisture. And I think a lot of what we're seeing is attempts to cloud seed and to create more rain, but it's backfiring, and we're actually kind of exaggerating the greenhouse effect by doing this. So it is a controversial area, and I think people really should do their research about it and get the facts.
Yeah, so this panel will be a great chance for people to catch up on it. Everybody's going to be there who's got a voice in the field. Michael Murphy, the guy who made What in the World Are They Spraying and Why, he'll be on the panel. Kristen Megan is a ex-military. She's got a lot to say about what she's seen within purchase orders and different things happening with the way the government's handling this stuff. Bruce Douglas is the guy from Maui Skywatch. He was instrumental in helping get Monsanto banned from the island. Max Bliss, he's done a lot of work on this. Steve Miller, same thing. So it's a great panel. And yeah, Chris, I agree with you. I think that they've developed a delivery system, basically. And I think that delivery system is versatile for a variety of purposes. So, maybe they might want a cloud seed in one area. Maybe they might want to disperse a biologic in another area. Maybe it has to do with putting out the metallics to deflect the sun. There's a lot of talk that now that they're calling it geoengineering, that, yeah, they're trying to slow global warming, or they're trying to do this, or they're trying to do that. So the opinions vary, and there's a lot of different people saying a lot of different things. But I think that there's some sort of delivery system that's been created, and it's versatile, and it's being used for a variety of reasons. Yeah. And that's
there's definitely something at the core of it. I agree. I don't think it's as pervasive as people think. I do think that.
How do you explain the crisscross pattern?
Well,
no major airport has that kind of flight patterns. You could watch the skies over LA for 5 days and you'll never see it. Then all of a sudden, there's crosshatches in the sky.
Well, it's moisture. There's a lot of it, and planes do fly north, south, east, and west. I remember as a kid growing up in Washington State, we were fairly near McChord Air Force Base, and we used to see crisscross patterns all the time from military jets that were being staged in the Puget Sound area. I remember seeing very similar patterns in the sky as a kid back in the 60s and into the 70s. So this isn't a new thing. It's just, people I think are noticing it more. But there's no question that there is some sort of program that's attempting to manipulate or modify climate and weather. I'm pretty convinced of that based on my research. But again, I think there's a lot of misnomers. There's a lot of natural occurring conditions that can lend themselves to persistent contrails, which are not nefarious. There's both sides of the coin. I don't want to throw all this information out and say none of it's real, because I do have a sense that there is something, as you pointed out, behind this geoengineering programs. And, these delivery systems, like you said, who knows what could be involved in the agenda. It kind of makes you wonder sometimes whether certain powers that be have our best interests at heart. But I do think it's an important issue, and I wish you luck on that panel. It sounds like a really good panel to be on.
Yeah, and oddly enough, chemtrails and geoengineering are not a topic that I know a lot about. I was just asked to moderate the panel, so I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to be learning some stuff. And of course, I invite everybody else to come and check it out.
Ron, would you tell our listeners where they can find more of the stuff that you do?
Well, my online television network is iVolve TV, and that's just like the word evolve. So it's IVOLVE.com. And you can find a lot of material there. The interview with Steve Bassett in my new TV show, Bigger Questions, is on there. You can really kind of check that out and decide for yourself. It's in the auditorium section, and it's free. The Conscious Life Expo, obviously, is consciouslifeexpo.com. Check out the geoengineering panel. It'll be live streamed on the 8th, I believe.
And by the way, that's the day you're going to hear the show, so you better hurry.
Oh, yeah. And then my book, Messiah Awakenings, that's on Kindle. So you can just go to check Kindle for Messiah Awakenings by Ron James. It'll pop right up. And again, you can read it for free if you have Kindle Prime. You can read it for free if you have Amazon Prime and a Kindle. And if you just want to download it, it's like $7.99. And I'll actually get a royalty that'll help me write the sequel.
Okay. You can also find us at theparacast.com, where if you subscribe to the Paracast newsletter, you get a free copy of Secrets of the Mysterious Valley by Chris O'Brien. You can go to plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com, learn about Paracast Plus, After the Paracast podcast, the ad-free version of our show, the low subscription rates to sign up and get going. And if you subscribe to a year or more, you get a free copy of Stalking the Tricksters, that famous book from Chris O'Brien, thanks to his generosity. And also, if you go to OurStrangePlanet.com, you check Chris's blog. And if you want, you can order the print versions of all his books. He'll autograph them. Ron James, thanks for joining us on the Paracast.
Thank you, Gene and Chris. It's been a pleasure.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.